Today, you're going to learn how to build a customer experience strategy in physical retail. I'll introduce advanced analytical techniques, specifically key performance indicators to be deployed in retail concept stores. Today, people tracking technologies are accurate enough and cost-effective enough to be deployed in retail concept stores, where retailers test new ideas and technologies. The challenge comes from the differences in customer behaviors between the digital and physical environments. Even in technology products built on networks effects, the customer experience in the digital world is linear and individual. But in the physical world, the customer experience has to be taken in context to the store's social and chaotic nature. I'm Ronnie Max, the founder of the Behavior Analytics Academy, where professionals learn how to increase conversions, sales, and profit in physical environments. To build a customer experience strategy correctly, you need to connect the dots between what you want to achieve and how you're going to achieve it. Therefore, you need to look beyond the hype and beyond the technology into customer behaviors and into the data, specifically into customer behavior analytics. In this video, you're going to learn about advanced KPIs that will give you the ability to measure, manage, and improve the customer experience in physical retail. But first, there are sources of confusion that need clarification. The first source of confusion starts with the notion of the digital transformation of the physical store, where retailers use technology to increase sales and to communicate with their customers. While similarities exist, there are distinct differences between the online and offline analytics in data, privacy, and customer behaviors. For example, you cannot opt out of being tracked in a physical environment. And if you're concerned about privacy, let me be clear. You do not need to recognize individuals to improve the customer experience in a physical store. On the contrary, personalization in physical stores can backfire. The second source of confusion comes from searching for customer experience metrics. For example, the Net Promoter Score is an effective KPI to evaluate the customer experience in marketing. Another example comes from call centers, where the goal is to solve the customer problem during the first interaction. These are simple to understand metrics, but there is a difference between the two techniques. You can ask the store visitors how they feel about the shopping experience using mystery shoppers, in-store surveys, and gadgets such as Happy or Not. But these techniques are subjective and they depend on what people say. And therefore, the sampled results are wrapped with bias and personal opinions. To create a customer experience strategy in physical stores, you want to follow the example from the call centers. The goal is not marketing to consumers, but to manage the store better. Therefore, you want to measure what people do, not what they say. In other words, you want quality and consistency from the data on customer behaviors, on where, when, and what. The third source of confusion is the difference between input and output metrics. Output metrics are outcomes. For example, sales KPIs tend to be outcome metrics, such as comp sales or sales per square foot. Input metrics are these metrics that you can control and therefore manage. For example, sales conversion is an outcome metric, but it is also an input metric. Why? Because you can manage the in-store sales process to tilt it toward improving the sales conversion. Retailers care about outcome metrics that reflects the local store's ability to generate revenue. And yet, outcome matrix should always be in context to the input matrix. Bottom line, a customer experience strategy depends on KPIs that capture the customer behaviors in specific touch points during the shopping journey. Here's how. KPI number 1 is the optimal engage time. The optimal engage time measures customer engagement with a product or a display. For example, 30 to 180 seconds. With advanced tracking technologies, you can measure customer engagement with gaze tilting, eye tracking, and products in motion. But the most straightforward way to measure customer interest is to capture how long a person stays in a particular location. Why? If you already know about YouTube and Google ranking factors, you already know that time-based metrics such as watch time and time on page are important user signals. The same concept holds true in brick and mortar stores, but with a twist. The optimal engaged time is a range between no engagement and called the associate thresholds. When the engagement time passes the high threshold, the system needs to alert the staff to investigate. Time below the minimum threshold does not indicate genuine interest. To be clear, the optimal engaged time is not the average engaged time. It is a range between 2 points on the distribution of customer behaviors. Most important, the optimal engaged time is different per retail category, shopping environment, and product. KPI number 2 is the optimal service time. For example, 30 to 105 seconds. The optimal service time measures the effectiveness of customer events. In other words, the KPI measures the service duration that has the most impact on sales. When it comes to customer service matrix, many retailers think about sales per hour and service intensity. But sales per hour is an outcome KPI, and service intensity is a scheduling metric, not a sales process metric. In a high-touch shopping environment where customer service has an outsized impact on sales, the optimal service time is a critical KPI. Most importantly, the optimal service time reflects the activities that influence the sales, such as pointing to the location of an item. The KPI of the optimal service time and the optimal engaged time belong to a category of time-based metrics. And while time-based metrics are ideal for user signals, location-based metrics provide a better understanding of the sales opportunity. The third KPI is the density rate. The density rate is the ratio between current occupancy and optimal occupancy. For example, if you consider 5 shoppers in a zone as the optimal occupancy and you have only one person visiting that place between 2 and 3 p.m., then the density rate for that period is 20%. While heat maps and in-store path analytics provide a picture of customer flow, you need the density rate to dig deep into customer behaviors. To be clear, occupancy is a counting metric that measures how many people stay in a zone per period of time. But the density rate is a percentage. The density rate is a social KPI. It is composed of multiple groups like the shopping unit, customer service, and community behaviors in store. Next, let's turn our attention to the store staff. KPI number 4 is the service productivity. Service productivity is the probability that a salesperson will repeat her past performance for a given level of traffic and store compliance. For example, 73% that she will achieve $100 per hour. Service productivity is an advanced technique. The more analytical, mature organization deploy KPIs such as service intensity for scheduling and service level for compliance. Service productivity connects between the local shopping environment, the skills of the individual salesperson, and the outcome of sales per hour. In other words, service productivity is a holistic KPI because it measures the value of the sales associate in context to store compliance and actual demand. And to better understand demand, you start with foot traffic and conversion funnels. KPI number 5 is the capture rate. The capture rate captures the relationship between people who enter the store and people who walk nearby. In other words, the capture rate is the ratio between store visitors and proximity traffic. For example, 7%. The capture rate belongs to a class of metrics that evaluate the sales opportunities for a physical store. And while proximity traffic and store visitors are counting metrics, the capture rate signifies conversion. The importance of the capture rate becomes evident when you evaluate the brand, marketing, and storefronts. Most importantly, the capture rate provides a fine but firm line between the retail organization, marketing, merchandising, and operation entities. Next, let's take a look at friction. KPI number 6 is the queue flow. Queue flow is the speed in which customers leave the line, for example, 90 seconds. Most of the attention in preventing friction is on the checkout. That's why you hear so much about curved pickup and touchless checkouts. But even if you have a mobile app, such as the Starbucks app, you still have a checkout process. And sometimes you wait in line. Retailers often evaluate friction by the number of people waiting in line for the checkout. An example from supermarkets is the one in France strategy. But it is better to evaluate checkout performance with time-based metrics, such as transaction time, waiting time, and checkout time. But queue flow is the best KPI to capture the customer experience because it does not depend on the length of the queue or the number of active cashiers. Queue flow is a function of the service itself. The next KPI is often misunderstood. KPI number 7 is the store dwell time. Store dwell time is the sum of how long people visited the store. For example, dwell time on Sunday between 4 and 5 p.m. is 6.5 hours. Store dwell time is similar to Google session time or YouTube watch time because these KPIs describe the duration of the customer experience. And just like session time and watch time correlate to more value to the platform, the longer shoppers stay in the store, the higher the store sales. The combination of store dwell time and in-store path analytics generate actionable insight into what works and what does not for our cohort of visitors. The last KPI creates confusion and controversy. KPI number 8 is the returning visitors, for example, 3% of daily visitors. No KPI creates more controversy on privacy than the returning visitors. In analytical terminology, the challenge is a challenge of attribution. The most valuable customers participate in customer loyalty programs. In practice, they agree to be tracked online and in a physical environment. For example, the touchless checkouts of the Amazon Go stores work only for opt-in Prime customers. If you care about privacy, you can create incentive inside the store for store visitors to enroll in your digital app. A great example is the loyalty incentives of a Nike store. The technology stores facial recognition as object attributes. That creates anonymity. You can identify trends, upsells, and cross-sells using cohort and retention charts. I thought of finishing the video here, but there's an advanced topic that I feel will be significantly important in retail analytics. The bonus KPI is group behaviors. With advanced technologies, the system recognizes group behaviors based on where and how long anonymous objects interact with each other. While the study of social behaviors in physical retail is new, you can segment KPIs by groups versus individuals. Bottom line, building a customer experience strategy in physical retail requires measurable KPIs and actionable insights. To be clear, you can use these techniques in every store, not only in concept stores. Some of the KPIs require high accuracy to be viable, and sometimes the benefit comes from a simple change in process. This is important. If you want to quantify the customer experience, you cannot get closer to your customers than in a physical store. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the Behavior Analytic channel right now. Click on the subscribe button. And if you want exclusive in-store optimization techniques, visit the behavioranalytics.academy. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of the metrics of this video are going to use first? The capture rate or the optimal engage time? Let me know by leaving a comment below.